Let's move on now. David Cameron has made a surprising comeback to UK politics. The former Prime Minister has now been appointed the Foreign Secretary of the country. The decision came after British Prime Minister Rishi Sunak carried out a major cabinet reshuffle. The newly appointed Foreign Secretary met his Indian counterpart, Dr. S. Jaishankar, who is currently on a UK visit. Both leaders discussed the situation in West Asia and Ukraine, while they also held a detailed discussion on realizing the full potential of India-UK strategic partnership. Cameron also spoke to U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinken and discussed the Israel-Hamas war. Both leaders also talked about relations with China and help for Ukraine during a telephonic conversation on Monday. Speaking at an event on Monday night, Sunak welcomed Cameron in a speech and said that his appointment comes in deeply challenging times. He said that Cameron will build on UK's past achievements in foreign policy.
And so we've delivered one of the most significant years for British foreign policy in recent times. That's due in no small part to James Cleverly, and I know that he'll bring the same vigour to the equally vital job of Home Secretary. And I'm pleased to have appointed a new Foreign Secretary who will build on everything that we have achieved in the last year.
Now, Cameron's return comes in a cabinet reshuffle which was triggered by firing of Suella Braverman as the country's Home Secretary. She has been sacked from the role after her criticism of police for their favourable treatment of pro-Palestine protesters. James Cleverly, who was till now serving as the Foreign Secretary, has replaced Braverman, and Cameron now fills Cleverly's position. Cameron's appointment as Foreign Secretary comes as a surprise. A former Prime Minister accepting a portfolio in a cabinet goes against convention. While accepting his new role, Cameron took to social media and said that though he may have disagreed with Sunak on some decisions, he is a strong and capable Prime Minister. And for the latest, we have Stuart Smith, who is now joining us live from London. Stuart Smith, good to see you and welcome to the broadcast. How is UK reacting to the appointment of their former Prime Minister to the new position of Foreign Secretary?
There are people that like David Cameron because what he brought to the country and at his time in office 2,680 days ago was a sense of centrism, which in the last few years has changed in UK politics, with the Conservative Party veering more to the right. And so for some, this comes as a welcome relief from those statements such as those by Suella Braverman, the Home Secretary, who was making statements out of line with government policy. But at the same time, there are people within the right of the Conservative Party that consider the appointment of David Cameron as someone that was firmly pro-European, who was more centrist than the party is now, is a bad thing, a mistake, some say, including Jacob Rees-Mogg, a senior cabinet minister and senior backbencher now who's previously been a cabinet minister. They say that she was saying what voters wanted to hear, what the party membership wanted to hear, and there could be a fight in future for Prime Minister by Suella Braverman. But that means with that shift, it's also a chance for the Conservative Party to try to portray a sense of unity within cabinet and also a sense of mediating the more right-wing aspects of its governance. But at the same time, opposition parties here in the UK say this makes no difference to the way the Conservative Party has been or will continue to govern. They say that changing personalities doesn't sort out the big problems. That's the leader of the Liberal Democrats. Labour says appointing David Cameron won't solve the cost of living crisis. And there was excitement in one of the few opposition parties, which is to the right of the Conservatives, who say that making this move, they think they will gain more votes amongst the right of the country. So a risky move by Sunak, but one which does allow him to focus on the upcoming election, a date not set but likely to happen next year, while David Cameron, a former Prime Minister who's far more experienced than Rishi Sunak, can deal with the major foreign policy issues of the time. And Westminster insiders say that when he was appointed, world leaders from all sorts of countries and UK allies texted David Cameron to welcome him back. He's a respected leader from his past, and one that other leaders such as Joe Biden, Xi Jinping, Vladimir Putin all have experience working with.
Stuart, finally and very quickly, have we heard from Suella Braverman yet? Because she said after she was sacked that expect something from me.
Yeah, that's right, and that's still all we've heard. And the expectation is she may be waiting to a key ruling on the UK's asylum policy. The Supreme Court is making a judgment on Thursday, and if that goes in her favour, she will be able to address that as a win for her time as Home Secretary. If it goes against her, she can use that as a rallying cry to potentially challenge Rishi Sunak for role of Prime Minister.
Live in London, Stuart Smith, thank you very much for talking to us today. WION is now available in your country. Download the app now and get all the news on the move.